Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, good morning. Dawn has yet to break. There's a huge blanket of cloud over the Lowveld, and this is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Now we're sitting here on the main Vuurtela access heading towards the north, hopefully to find the Styx Pride. My name is James Henry, and we're going to be talking to you for the next 3 hours in our search, hopefully, for some lions, but we'll find numerous other things hopefully on the way. Craig is on camera this morning. Good morning, Craig. The Maltese Root Canal is what his new name is. And he had a rough time yesterday with his tooth. Please do talk to us for the course of the show. Hashtag Safari Live questions at WildEarthTV. Now, as I said, it's pretty blustery and cold out here today, but we had a lot of rain, which was excellent last night. Now, I've got the spotlight trained into this part of the bush because there have been 2 or 3, there it is, 2 or 3 little bush babies knocking about in here. Oh, Craig, I can just see the eyes. There we go. Can you see where I'm shining? You won't be able to see it from there. We've spent about 5 minutes with 2 or 3 little bush babies in here, and they've been so confiding until it's been time to go live, and then they've hidden. Anyway, while we wait and see if they don't come out, Tristan is on drive to the deep south. Of course, if you've watched the pre-show to the show, you would have seen him there. And then Byron will be out on foot when it gets to a safely lit part of the day. And I don't know when that's going to be. It's very dark indeed, despite the fact that it's early morning. And that is a function not so much of the season, but of this very thick blanket of grey cloud that we have over our heads. There was a very big storm last night. I think we had probably about, I would say, between an inch and an inch and a half of rain. So between 2 or 25 and 35 millimeters of rain or so. Some places got double that. Nkoro got double that. Apparently they got 70 millimeters, which is a massive dumping. So it really was quite a large storm. I don't think we got anything like that much though, because we don't have any puddles on the roads at the moment. There was clearly some water flow down the front of the road, but I don't think it was anything as severe as all that. Now, interesting stuff from yesterday that Tristan managed to find out. The Styx Pride was found near Simbambili. Now, I don't know how good your geography of this area is, but for the Styx Pride to be in Simbambili, that is well inside Nkuhuma territory, well sort of to the far western reaches of Nkuhuma territory. And what they're doing there is anyone's guess, but I do know that the Nkuhuma Pride went back into the Manyeleti. And so everything is in a bit of upheaval as far as the lions go. So we'll see what we can find here on our northern and western boundaries. And apparently it's Australia Day today, so happy Australia Day. Isn't that what they call Anzac Day, or was that a bit different? I don't remember. And so we'll be conducting the drive in very bad Australian accents, just simply because it's quite fun to do so. And, well, it might be the world's funniest accent, frankly. I'm definitely going to commentate my first wildlife sighting in a bad Australian accent. And can somebody please tell me if that is the same as Anzac Day? I don't think it is. I think Anzac Day is the celebration of the Battle of Gallipoli, isn't it? But I might be wrong there too. I might have it all totally fizzwazzled. There's absolutely no natural light here at all. Alright, while I figure out what's going on with Anzac Day, the Battle of Gallipoli and Australia Day, I hope that you will bid Tristan a very fond good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our sunrise safari. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning. It's nice and cool. We had a nice rain shower last night, so everything is looking nice and fresh and smelling really good. So it is a happy, happy day here for us this morning. First of all, I'd just like to say happy Australian Day to any of our Australian viewers. I hope you guys have a good day. I'm not going to attempt an Australian accent like James has. I'm unfortunately not very good with accents, and so rather than butcher your lovely accent, I'm going to just refrain from that. So we're on the lookout this morning for any signs of Karula and the cubs. We're going to kind of head down to the area where she was seen yesterday, and hopefully she's reunited with the cubs and we'll be able to get a visual of them. The nice thing with the rain is it's washed all the roads nice and clear of tracks, so hopefully if she has moved around in the early hours of this morning, that we'll be able to find her and pick up her tracks and locate her from there. So that is the plan to start with. I know James is going to go look for the Styx Pride, which I believe we're quite far west, which is quite unusual for them. They don't typically spend too much time up that way, but maybe there's some pressure from other lines that could be further south of them that have maybe pushed them up with the little cubs, or it just could be the females having a little explore around, showing the cubs where their territory is. So hopefully he'll be successful as well. The lions have been a bit elusive of late, so I'm hoping that they are going to pop out of the woodwork for us, which will be great. So it's still relatively dark here. We still got the spotlights on and kind of looking around and hoping that we can maybe pick up some of the nocturnal animals that maybe still will be out and about. Given that it's so dark and windy, you often find that the nocturnals will be active for a little bit longer than they normally would be. So maybe we'll get lucky with something like an owl or white-tailed mongoose. Those kind of things would be quite nice to pick up now this morning. So Bree would like to know if I enjoy the sunset or sunrise drive more. Bree, I would have to say that probably, it depends actually. I actually quite like both. Sorry, a little bit slippery this morning. I like both. It depends on the day. Sometimes we end up in a situation where, like mornings like this, I really enjoy the sunrise. It's nice and cool this morning. And I like in the sunrise that you often can pick up things that have moved around during the night, so it's a lot better for tracking, which is always a fun experience. So I like the sunrise drive from that point of view, but I really do like sunsets. I like the whole change that goes where we get the awakening of all the nocturnals while the diurnal animals start to kind of close down, and then those beautiful sunsets that we often get. So I think I'm a bit more of a sunset drive guy, but I do enjoy the fresh mornings like we have this morning as well. So now that we've safely negotiated that crossing, like I say, it's a little bit slippery this morning, so I have to engage low range just to get up there, which is all good. So it's been also quite quiet in terms of sounds this morning. Kind of just before the drive started, sat for a little bit and was listening out. Didn't hear too much. There was quite a few birds calling, the obligatory woodland kingfisher, which typically starts first before anybody else was calling at about 4 o'clock this morning already. But other than that, there's been no kind of hints of any of the cats calling last night. I haven't heard any hyenas calling, so it seems a little bit quiet with regards to sound, but hopefully it's just, like I say, because of the cooler weather that everybody is kind of on the lookout for food more than anything else. You'll often find the predators in weather like this are going to be searching for food. They know that this dark, windy conditions really suits their lifestyle and suits the way that they hunt. It makes it much harder for prey animals to see them, and so therefore is a lot easier for them to hunt. So it could be why it's a lot quieter than it was yesterday morning with the leopard calling at the dam. Alright guys, so while we're searching around, we're going to go back to James and see what he's managed to find and see where he is and what his update is for the morning. Okay, well, welcome back guys. I think James is just battling a little bit with his comms, so hopefully we'll be able to get back to him again shortly. I believe he's stumbled on a nice surprise there for you guys, so hopefully we'll be able to get back to him and he'll be able to show you what's going on. I think James has got a bit of beginner's luck this morning. No, I'm just kidding. I think he's years of experience, and bit of luck always helps as well. So like I say, we're still kind of scratching around a little bit. It's still quite quiet on our side. It's not too much that I've seen in the way of tracks either. There's no signs of any ellies or buffalo at this stage, but we'll keep having a look and seeing. It's just starting to get light enough now that we'll probably start looking to turn the lights off, and which will make life a little bit easier for driving, that's for sure. It takes some getting used to doing the spotlights and the driving and the talking all at once. So I'm very fortunate in the lodges that I've worked at previously that we have trackers, and the trackers often, they man the lights on the front of the vehicle and leaves you to kind of talk and drive and not have to worry too much about it, which is quite nice. So just getting used to the whole spotlight, driving, talking scenario. Talking of woodland kingfishers, there was one that's just flown across the road. Unfortunately, it seems to have disappeared into a little thicket on my right hand side here, so we're not going to be able to get him on the camera, but beautiful coloration in these LED lights. Alright, so we're going to go back to James with that surprise that he has for you guys. I think everything's back up and running, so hopefully you guys will enjoy.
Enjoy it. 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Right, so back again everyone, sorry about that. I realised halfway through the last sort of link that the radios were not working anymore, so I said, oh shoot, and then well, you weren't with us anymore, but now you are with us. The radios are not working, so you can talk to us still, and it will be WhatsApp to me. Any questions you have. Let's go and find out who this is. This is wonderful stuff to have just come around the corner and found a lion eating a beefalo. Clearly there has been some struggle during the night, and I'm just going to quickly show you off to that side there. There is another lion. One of the Birminghams, one would assume. Let's go and see if we can identify which one this one is. And slowly we're getting some natural light on the scene, but it's still very dark. And the big thing to notice about this chap is he has a very nasty cut above his left eye. And this was a young buffalo. And I'm not surprised that they managed to catch one last night. I am quite surprised at the fact that he looks so dry. I mean, he looks like he's had his hair blow dried, doesn't he? Blow dried. Station is located. 2 male lions on the junction sandy patch and buffalo cut line. Animals are on a buffalo. Isn't that marvelous? Can anyone help me perhaps with an ID here? I don't think it's Mfumo, and I'm pretty sure it's not Tinyo either. It looks, that looks pretty pale maned to me. Let's see. We have some comments coming through now. Thank you, Aaron. I'm not going to reply to your message. He's having a very good meal indeed. Oh, a pride shift. Sorry, Kirsten typed wrong. Aaron, I wish I could share this to you, but it's a bit one of those mistakes that it's turned out quite rude, but isn't actually rude at all. Right, Aaron in New Zealand, you want to know if I think there's a pride shift happening? I don't know. I mean, do you know who this is, Aaron? That looks like a fairly blonde male to me, and I don't think he's immediately recognizable. I suppose to some of you he might be, but that cut above his left eye is new. I think you're probably also referring to the shift of the Nkuhumas gone north and the Styx seemingly in this area here. You know what, there's another male dead ahead of us. In fact, both of them, there's a lioness and a male just ahead of us. Let's just keep going forward. This chap's not going to go anywhere. Let's just try and assess what's going on here. Aaron, I find it very interesting to find out what's going on here with the two prides. It's not the first time that the Nkuhumas have gone north into the Manileti. It's not the first time that the Styx have come this far north, but it is unusual, and I'm not really sure why it's happening. And I don't think there's going to be a shift in territory for prides is very unusual. Let's just have a look at this chap first. It's extremely unusual that a pride would ever actually vacate an area completely. Normally, that only happens when there's a complete vacuum, when the entire pride gets wiped out by something, and then there'll be kind of a takeover. But otherwise, you're right there, Craig. Otherwise, the territories tend to stay the same. Let's have a look at this chap. I'll just try and shed some light on his life. That ain't Mfumo either. Try and get in close on his face if you can, Craig. That's not Mfumo. Look here, please, lion. We want to see which one you are. Don't go to sleep there. Right, Liz and Beck, you reckon that the first lion we were looking at there is Nsuku. Well, I would agree, given his blondie nature. So that's excellent. We've got Nsuku eating. I'm going to wager that this fellow here is Tinyo. But I might be wrong. I haven't seen the other side of his face yet. Yes, come on. Look around. Hello? No. Okay, we'll have to move for him. Sorry about the light shift. Let me just try and move the car. And then there's another one in front of us. I just need to move carefully here because there's quite a lot of water logged on the ground. Right, now obviously we can't go in here, but I wonder if that over there isn't our friend Mfumo and Amber Eyes. It's a lovely scene, isn't it? Just to train my binoculars. Hello, Roger. You're wondering about how close they are to the Djuma pan. We seem to have our radio comms back up. Roger, they're a long way from the Djuma pan. They're probably 1.5 miles, so just over 2.5 kilometers. And they're at a place called Sydney's Dam at the moment, right on the northern boundary. So I can't get... These guys are across the northern boundary. I can't get close to them. I'm not sure that that's Mfumo either, actually. Huh? It will brighten up fairly shortly. Look over here, if you wouldn't mind, David. Can we look to this chap? That's Tino there. Yes, that's Tino. Right, sorry. That's Craig, not Dave. I keep calling Craig David. I don't know why. I do apologize. It's no good at all. That's Tino. So we've got Tino and Nsuku. And I don't know that that one we were looking at on the right-hand side is Mfumo, so maybe it's Nana. He's calling. Yeah, he's going to call. He has a half-hearted call. Oh, you know what? That's her. That's not him calling. That's the lioness. And the reason I'm assuming it's Amber Eyes, of course, is that she was the one. She's still calling now. There she goes. That's him calling now. It's wonderful having them up and about, isn't it? Seeing them moving like this. Lying down. How mysterious. Interesting that she's calling. Obviously she's thinking about where the rest of the pride could be. And I think this buffalo was clearly not killed by the Nkuhuma pride. It was clearly killed by one of these two. At least one of this lot. I suspect one of the males, perhaps. Alright, let's go back a bit and see this chap. Eric, the answer is yes and no. We are just going to go back towards the one that's on the kill, to Nsuku. Eric, you say, would a male lion ever accept, or would a coalition of male lions ever accept another male into their coalition? They would, possibly, until the time that they became territorial. These guys, I think it would be extremely unlikely that they would accept another male into their lives at the moment. I think they would probably fight him and kill him. But before they become territorial, yes, then unrelated males do sometimes join up. And our case in point, of course, is our friend Junior of the Nkuhuma Pride, who was the male who was tossed out by these guys because he was a youngster. And they threw him out, and he seems to have found himself a coalition mate who was unrelated to him. That's a lovely view there of Nsuku, who seems to be in absolutely prime condition. There was a struggle definitely underneath this tree last night. That buffalo had a very bad night. And I think all of the lions were feeding here at some stage during the evening. I'd say that buffalo was probably about a year old. So it didn't make it very far into this life before joining the next. Definitely would have come out of a herd as well, and I see no evidence of the rest of the herd, so perhaps it was separated from the herd. But of course the amount of rain we had last night and its sort of intensity would definitely have wiped off many of the tracks that there have been of just about all the animals that moved during the night. And this will not last them through the day, I don't think. Hello Slade, you seem to be a new viewer, which is very wonderful indeed, and thank you for watching us, and thank you for sending through a question. You say you're confused. Don't be confused, Slade. There's nothing to be confused about. You say there are 3 alpha males in this pride. You wouldn't describe them as alpha males, really. They're a coalition of males that have just about equal rights, purely because they're all the same size. One of them probably slightly bigger than the others and carrying slightly more testosterone, and that's his old Nkuhuma, who seems to be the more authoritative one and seems to have dominated most of the mating opportunities, but certainly not all of them. And in a coalition of males, it's a very flat hierarchical structure unless it comes to mating and feeding, and then it's purely based on who's the biggest and who's got the most testosterone and therefore the most aggressive. But there's no obvious hierarchy like there is, say, in a wolf pack or something like that. Not within the pride of females and babies, and not within the coalition of males either. I'm just going to go around the other side of him so we can actually look at his face. Slade, does that answer your question? If it doesn't, you're welcome to send through another question and tell me I'm being a godless fool and not answering what you were wanting me to. I'm going to keep an eye on the other one now. We can see them both actually, so we can keep a view on exactly what's going on with the 2 on this side of the fence. It's not actually a fence, of course, it's an imaginary fence. Hello, Lael in Washington. I'm not sure that we've heard from you for some time. Nice to hear from you again. Maybe you just haven't been talking to me for some reason. Lael, you say, can lions smell fear in scared or nervous humans? No, I don't think they can smell fear at all, but I do think that they're extremely good at picking up on body language. And now, I don't believe dogs can smell fear either. And many people will tell you, well, if a dog is giving you a fright, you need to act in a dominant fashion because they can smell fear. They can't smell fear, I don't think. Although we do produce pheromones when we are afraid, I'm not convinced that other species, it doesn't make evolutionary sense that we would give off that sense to potential predators. I do think, however, Lael, that they can completely sense our body language, and I think they do that. Many animals are excellent at reading body language, including ourselves, obviously. We know, you can tell when somebody's feeling awkward or upset or nervous, and I think the same goes for the animals out here. So I think that were you to come across these lions on foot, if you were to behave in a submissive fashion and in a nervous fashion by either running away or turning around and cowering like that, I think you'd probably find you might induce some kind of an attack. If you stand dominant and you look them in the eye, then quite often they will back off and, well, normally they'll actually run away. But if you behave in a nervous fashion, they will read that body language. And there's no ways that when standing down a lion charge, unless it's happened to you many, many more times than it's ever happened to me or anyone I've ever met. There's no ways you're not going to feel fear when they come and they charge. But as long as you stand and you look fearsome about it, normally there's just a little bit of contact calling going on. Normally they'll then back off. So I don't think they can smell fear, no. I don't know a huge amount about the olfactory nature of fear, but I do believe we produce some kind of hormone. We produce adrenaline, obviously, when we're afraid. That probably, to the extremely sensitive nose, probably does give a slight change in smell. Whether these animals pick that up or not, I don't know. I don't think so. And whether they then register it as fear, I'm not sure. So that chap is now fast asleep over there, and you actually might be able to see the other two who've just stuck their heads up. Can you see them there, Craig? And Justin, I agree with you. This early morning light is perfect for looking at lions. It's not quite as golden as we might like it to be, but what it does mean is that they're doing something other than just lying there. Now, there's something going on to the north of that dam where we can't go. These two keep picking up their heads and looking that way. Perhaps there's another lion coming down to drink. Or perhaps they're just doing a little bit of birding. Now, this is fascinating, and I'm going to be truly fascinated as to who this is. Tristan has managed to find himself another tawny cat.
So welcome back, guys. Indeed we have. So we've managed to locate what looks like one of the Styx lionesses. It looks like the younger female, and she is absolutely full bellied. It looks like she's had a really good meal last night. So she's just lying in the middle of the road at this stage. It looks like she's, like I say, consumed something during the night. You can see the size of that belly that's swelling out. When we arrived, there was actually an impala that was busy staring at her, and she made absolutely no attempt to even go anywhere near it. And the impala was probably not even 10 meters away from her at the time. You can actually hear the impala alarm calling now behind us. But she has definitely had quite a big meal. As far as I know, yesterday, all three lionesses and the two cubs were together. So I'm not sure where the others are. Maybe they're still finishing off whatever they managed to kill last night. At the end of the day, there could be a meal maybe not too far from here. Maybe the rest of the lionesses and the cubs are still there. So once we're done here, we will go and have a look around and see if we can maybe locate on the rest of the pride. But yeah, she is a very content girl. Can imagine with a nice big full belly. I'm sure she's very happy that it's nice and cloudy and overcast. This cool breeze means that she's not going to be too hot. You can see she's still breathing quite heavily with that massive tummy of hers. It'll be pushing up on those lungs, making her draw shorter breaths, as well as there'll still be a bit of heat that's building up because of the amount of food that's inside her and the amount of protein that's having to be broken down. So some of the viewers are commenting that her belly looks like it's about to explode, and it does indeed. It's absolutely massive. So whatever she had, it was a good meal. When we first arrived and we saw the impala sitting right near her and staring at her, I thought it's possible maybe she had caught the impala's lamb and had it somewhere here. But I don't see any sign of a carcass anywhere near us, and the impala has run off anyway, so it doesn't seem too distraught. It wasn't alarm calling excessively like they would do had it killed the lamb for that impala. So I'm sure they've had... Okay, we're going to go back to James because I believe the lines that he's got are calling, so we're going to quickly go across to them.
Wasn't that special? All three of them calling. And it seems that she inspired them. She started to call quite loudly, clearly looking for the rest of the pride. I'm pretty sure that that's Amber Eyes, and that the lioness that Tristan's got has got nothing to do with her. So there has been some upheaval during the night. The Styx pride seemed to be scuttling further down towards the south, I think. I'm not sure exactly where Tristan is, but given where I saw him here, I think he's probably quite a long way to the south, along the Triple M break, basically between Arathusa and Djuma, I think. So they've moved south. She's calling the rest of her pride, and when she started calling, they didn't react. And then the lion with her started to call, and then these two guys gave us that wonderful show. Yeah, and Tristan is quite a long way south. He's pretty much into the Styx territory there, to the south, along our southern boundary is pretty much the boundary between the Nkuhumas and the Styx prides. Marvellous. That was excellent. Let's go back to this chap over here. I'm not sure what the others are doing right now. Have we got further confirmations of identifications? We know Tinyor's the one in front of us. We know this is Nsuku, the blondie. But the one with amber eyes does not appear to be Mfumo to me. I certainly couldn't make out the scar underneath his nose. So perchance that is Nana. In which case, our most commonly seen male. Exactly, Liz, precisely what I was thinking. This would be the first time, Liz, that Mfumo hasn't been part of the trio, or certainly part of the two lions that we are seeing here. We haven't seen Nsuku and Nana appear a great deal at all in the last little while. Very nice to see them together. There's something about four males knocking around together that is just very, well, it's inspiring, isn't it? It's awe-inspiring. And you might just be able to make out the shout of the impala in the background. You've probably been able to hear that it's pretty windy out here. And Luca, you can, yes, you say, can we feel the deep sort of rumble in our bones completely? You can hear your rib cage, feel your rib cage rattling, as they call, especially when you're this close to one. I'm just going to keep an eye out. I mean, these impala are alarm calling, but they're alarm calling at quite a distance. It's not usual for them to alarm call like that at lions who they know in the daytime are highly unlikely to turn around and have a go at them. Well, but they are looking straight in this direction, so I'm sure that's what they're shouting at. Marvellous! Well, I'm thoroughly satisfied with the morning so far. Let's go back to this fellow having his meal. And anyone who thinks that male lions are unable to hunt or don't try and hunt, well, here's your disconfirmation, if you like. Right, that's Amber Eyes calling again. That's why he's looked up. She's feeling a bit lonely without her pride. Now he's starting again. I think that he's not convinced there's any real reason for him to be shouting. He's done it once. He knows, therefore, that no one is going to come into this area unless they have some kind of a death wish. Right, the other one is up. Tino is up in front of us. wait to see what he's doing. JC, Charles, you're wondering about the interaction between the Nkuhumas and the Styx. You say even though these four males dominate both prides, would they still have a go at each other if they were to meet? JC, it's almost an entirely separate social structure. It's quite interesting. The fact that they are dominated or overseen, shall we say, by the same group of males actually has nothing to do with the interaction that they have with each other. Prides, being the females and the babies, are highly territorial. They would absolutely have a huge war if they came across each other on a territorial boundary, or certainly if they found lions incurring into their own territories, they would certainly have a fight. So I'm fair convinced that the departure of the Styx pride probably has something to do with the re-arrival in this area of the Nkuhumas, and perhaps they were calling around here last night. So they will certainly fight, and their territoriality is completely separated from who the male coalition dominating them is. Let's go back to him while he eats. I'll just keep an eye on old Tino and see what he does. I think he's going to lie down again. Yep, no, he's flat on his back now. So we'll watch where the action's happening. There he is. You can see he's disappeared entirely from view. Now, I'm sure those of you who are longer-term viewers and who've been with us for certainly the really nasty drought we had last year will notice how much more rain we've had this year, and how much greener the vegetation is, and how much thicker it is, and how much more often we've had days like this where the clouds have come scudding over, and it gives such a nice variation, doesn't it? Right, as the scudding clouds continue to scud their way to the north, let us scud our way to the south and west, where Tristan is still with the Styx pride. Let's see if he can unravel the mystery of their movements.
Welcome back, guys. I believe James has been chatting to you about Nkuhumas and Styx and who's who and whether or not these two lionesses are possibly related. And as far as I can see, this is most definitely one of the Styx Pride members. I'm sure the ones calling up in the north must be the Nkuhumas, because every time they call, she pops her head up to listen to what's going on up there, and she kind of has a very intent look as she stares up at the lions that are calling to the north of us. So I'm pretty sure she comes from the Styx Pride. I did do a little loop quickly while you guys were with James to see if there was any sign of the rest of them or if the cubs were around. I had a look to see. We had some vultures that were in a tree, but unfortunately we didn't find anything. I also didn't see any tracks of the cubs or the rest of the pride. It's just her tracks that come down the road into this area. So it's possible that she's left the rest of them on a carcass further afield, but we didn't manage to locate anything. And unfortunately, after heavy rains that we had last night, the one road that she came down is a road that we cannot drive this morning due to those heavy rains. It's a little bit too soft and mushy, so it's not going to be able to be driven. And so maybe they're sitting on that road somewhere. I will try go a little bit further north of that area and just check. Maybe they're somewhere up at the top there, but I didn't see any signs of the cubs or the other two females. But you can see she's gone from flat to kind of sitting up and quite alert as to what's going on. She's starting to kind of fall asleep again now. As that audio was coming out, she bolted up and was listening very intently to what was going on. I don't think she's going to be sitting in the road for much longer. It's just starting to drizzle a little bit now, and cats typically are not very fond of rain or water. And so you'll probably find that she'll move herself into a little thicket somewhere just to get out of the rain. For now, she's just probably enjoying the nice openness of the road. It also, they like to lie on the roads, particularly when it's cool like this, just because there's no parasites or ticks or anything that could be getting onto her. When she lies in deep, thick grass, often you'll find a case that ticks and mites and all kinds of things crawl on her while she's there. So it's better for her to be on the road while it's still nice and cool. But like I say, given that the rain is starting to fall, I'm sure she's going to get up and start moving into these thicker areas around us and try and just hide out from that rain. Now the reason why we know that this is one of the Styx females is a little bit earlier when we were looking at her belly. I don't know if any of you noticed that her belly was almost looked like some of her fur was missing. So this particular pride has struggled a little bit with mange, which is a mite that gets into the hair follicles and causes them to really itch, and they scratch them to the point where they lose a lot of their fur. And so it's one of the IDing features of this pride at the moment is that a lot of them are still recovering from that. Now that we've had a bit of rain and a lot more kind of moisture in the air, the mite doesn't populate nearly as well. And so they're all on the mend, they're all recovering. Prior to the rains falling, the 3 lionesses had quite severe breakouts around the face and on the stomach. But she's getting a lot better now. You can see the hair on the stomach is starting to grow back quite nicely. You can see she's got a little scar on her right side of her leg there, which would have been from probably fighting with one another over a carcass. So John in Connecticut would like to know how long it will take for her to digest this meal. Now, probably in all likelihood, she'll be digesting for the next sort of 2 days. She is very, very, very full, but you'll be surprised by this afternoon if we come and try and find her again. You'll see that stomach is way, way, way down, so they do digest it quite quickly. But in terms of needing another meal, she will probably even be able to go as much as a week to 10 days before she'll be needing another meal. Lionesses are obviously opportunistic, and so she could potentially hunt before then, but in terms of digesting, by tomorrow this time you'll find that stomach will be way, way, way down, and it will look as though she hasn't eaten a big meal at all in the last day or two. So it will take a while for her to digest during the day today, but by tomorrow she should look pretty normal again. So Terry in Michigan would like to know, is she not concerned about being in the open by herself? The thing about a lioness, or lions in general, is that they are the apex predator out here. So they are really the ones that dominate and control and kind of dictate what goes on in the predator world. And so for her, she feels completely at home where she is right now. She knows that she's had a big meal, so she doesn't need to be camouflaged or concealed in any way. As long as she's can find an area where she can just rest and be able to see what's going on around her, she's more than comfortable. If she wasn't full-bellied like she is now, then potentially she might try and find somewhere where she can conceal herself a lot better and be able to then conceal for hunting reasons. But in this case, being so full, she doesn't need to conceal herself for hunting. And at the end of the day, she's also right in the middle of her territory, so she feels very comfortable in that this is an area that she can roam around in that would be free of other females. The Nkuhuma pride does sometimes come down here, but very, very seldom. So this is more the area that the Styx dominate, and so being an adult lioness that's part of that, she'll be very, very relaxed in the fact that she's here, and she doesn't need to worry about concealing herself too much at all. Alright guys, so while we sit here and just see if maybe the rest of the pride will pop out, let's go back to James and see what's happening with the Birminghams and see what they're up to.
This fellow is still feeding, so not much going on from that point of view. So I think I'm quite enjoying having a lion doing something, so I think we're going to stay here. The other two seem to have gone to sleep, but there was a bit of a contretemps to the north with the lioness and the male, and I think he tried to mate with her, and she gave him what for yet again. Now we know that has been happening. There they are. And you know, for the last little while, Amber Eyes seemed to be in a kind of estrus, and there's not a great deal of success for the males. She's disinterested, and this is not the first time it's kind of happened with her and these males, so I don't know. And Jamie was saying the other day that she is under the impression that Amber Eyes has never had cubs. So it's quite interesting. That's a gorgeous picture of them there. Now, Barbicheas, you're interested. Sorry, I just cannot say that name any other way. Barbicheas. Barbicheas. You want to know if these lions are chewing their food or just biting it and swallowing it. Well, if you look at this chap, and perhaps you've got a house cat or a dog nearby, Barbicheas, grab your domestic animal, hold it tight to you, and peel back the top lip and make sure you don't get yourself bitten in the process. But while you're doing that, what you will notice is the molars at the back are actually very sharp. They're not grinding surfaces like ours, or like the grinding surfaces on what was a buffalo just in front of us with the lion. They are very sharp, and they're designed to slice the meat off the bone and in half into bite-sized or swallowable size pieces, and then it will be swallowed. They do not chew. They don't have the mechanism to chew. Their jaws also don't do a huge amount of sideways rotation, and so for them to be able to sort of grind away at the food would be very difficult. But those back molars are designed for cutting. They're called carnassials, and they're designed for cutting the meat off the bone and off the skin and then swallowing almost immediately. So there's no chewing that goes on. And you'll see there, they break it up a little bit with the big canines, but the canines are mainly there for killing rather than for chewing. And then the carnassials are there for the actual business of eating. Now, Beck, you're wondering if they always eat the buffalo from the back, or would they perhaps start somewhere else? Normally, actually, with a buffalo like this, if it's a big buffalo and a pride has taken it down, they will start at the back and at the underside, because, of course, there's not enough space for them to get into the bottom. So somebody will definitely get into the bottom because that's the softest part. So they'll attempt that first, and then the rest of the pride would start to have a go at the belly to try and get at the internal organs. Eventually, once they've opened it up sort of from bottom, if you like, up to the sternum, that's where they'll open it up. That's the softest, easiest part to get into. Then they'll start peeling the skin away from the rest of the body. But if you imagine, again, if you have a domestic variety animal with you, you could do it on yourself too. You can feel just below your rib cage, that's the sternum. That's a very hard piece of cartilage. And that obviously is even harder in something the size of a buffalo. And then if you trace a line down from your stomach, through your belly button, and around the other side, if you like, not to put too fine a point on it, that's obviously the softest part of your body. And it's the softest part of any animal out here. And that's the body, or that's the part of the body that's going to be opened up first. It also grants access, of course, to the fat-rich organs and nutrition. Well, they've got all sorts of other nutrition as well, but it's largely the fat that they want. So the liver's covered in a little bit of fat, the kidneys got surrounded by fat, the heart muscle is also quite nice for them, and of course they also like to eat the stomach. Not the stomach contents, but the stomach, and I can actually show you that. Craig was pointing it out to me earlier. He said, "Is that the stomach?" And I said, "No, Craig, it is not the stomach. It is the fermentic stomach contents," and that's off to the right-hand side, just underneath the bushes. Craigus, if you wouldn't mind showing us the pile of what was the buffalo's last meal. Keep going to the left. Right, sorry, right. There we are. That's it there. You can see that pile of greenery there. And now that you're all sufficiently nauseated, let's head back across to Tristan and the Styx Pride.
So welcome back, guys. Still not much has changed. She's actually become a little bit more alert. She keeps kind of turning her head over and facing northwest, which is where she came from. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe, I haven't heard anything, but possibly the rest of the pride may be contact calling from that side, and hopefully she might get up and start moving and potentially taking us to the rest of the pride, which would be really, really nice if she did. At this stage, they're still kind of sitting in the middle of the road, and obstructing traffic at this stage. She is sitting on one of the main roads at the moment, so quite a few vehicles that are trying to get past her to get in and out to take staff and various things. So she's causing quite a spectacle this morning, and rightly so. She's a magnificent, magnificent cat. She's one of the most beautiful lions of the Styx. Like I said, it looks like the younger one of the three. I might be wrong. I don't know if some of the viewers maybe can get an idea as to which one she is, but it does look like the youngest of the three. I haven't actually seen much of the Styx recently. They've been spending quite a bit of time in the southern parts of this area and into Mala. And so the last time I saw them was actually a few months ago, and they really have come on in terms of what they look like. They're in much better condition than what they were at the end of August, September, when they were looking quite mangy at that stage. So Eric, all the way from Canada, would like to know how far lions travel away from their pride. Now, Eric, it's obviously a kind of debatable issue, and it depends on the situation. Sometimes they'll move quite big distances, particularly if they're going to mate. You'll find that they'll go way out of their territory to go and find males that are on the fringes of their territory, and the reason why is because obviously when they're mating, they know that males potentially could be a threat to their cubs later, and so what they do is they go and mate with males all on the fringes, and they basically fool the males that they are going to be the fathers, and if that male then becomes dominant over their area once she gives birth, that male will be fooled into thinking it's his cubs and therefore not kill the cubs. Alright, so they can stray quite far. I have seen lionesses that are 10, 11, 12 kilometers away from their pride, but generally not too far. They generally kind of just go a little bit, and it's normally to go and investigate something. So it could be something like other lions calling. It might be that they want to go and just mark territory, and at the moment, because this pride, one of the females does have cubs, it means that the cubs obviously are not as mobile as the adults, and so they're not moving nearly as much as they normally would, and therefore, some of the lionesses get a little bit kind of ants in their pants syndrome, and they want to move around a little bit more. They want to go check their territory, go and mark, and make sure that other females are not moving into their area while they've been in one place with the cubs. So you do find that they move away from them, but generally not too far. So you can see she perks up a little bit when some of the vehicles arrive. We are obviously in an area where there are commercial game lodges, and a couple people that would like to come and see her this morning. So we have a few vehicles that have joined us just to come and get a look in and to see her. And like I say, you can imagine for those people that are here that it's an incredible moment to be able to come across a wild lion in the middle of the road, nice and open. So lots of thrilled people on the back of some of the vehicles that I can see from where I am. But you can see how perfectly camouflaged she is. If you have a look at the coloration of the sand on the road, and you see her tawny coloration, you can see she actually blends very, very well. And I've seen lions often using roads to hunt. You would think it would be somewhere where they would be really exposed, but when they flatten themselves right down, particularly on an edge of a road, you can just see to the right of her there's a slight little curve up towards the grass, and they flatten themselves there, and any animal that approaches from that grassy area often doesn't see them at all, and then from there they can launch their attack. So they are perfectly designed to blend in with their environment and to be able to ambush these prey animals that potentially could be in this area. So I do believe that this female has been mating as well, which could also be a reason that she's separating from the pride. Often after they've mated, or if they are in the process of mating, they come into these estrus cycles and they hear the males calling and they start going to look for the males. And obviously this morning we know that James is sitting with the Birminghams that are calling, and so maybe she heard those males and was starting to make her way there, and then heard one of the females from the Nkuhumas calling and has decided better of it. Ultimately, if she goes into that area and the Nkuhuma females are there, then potentially she could get into a lot of trouble. Being one lioness against a pride of 5, she would get herself herself into all kinds of strife. So probably that's why she's slowed down and kind of ended up sitting here just to listen and to see what's going on. So Mary would like to know, because she's so big, is it possible that she's not only full but she might also be pregnant? Mary, it's very, very possible. It could be that she might be pregnant. When she was on her side though, her teats are not swollen in any way. There's no milk that seems to be developing in the teats just yet. And at the end of the day, just the swelling of that belly, it'll be much easier to tell if she stands up, but it just looks like it's a very kind of even swell. So what you find is when they're fed very heavily and they're pregnant, is their bellies tend to have an unevenness to it. So there's the swelling from the food and then where the cubs are sitting, and so it kind of has a little bit more of a bump. So you can see sometimes where they are pregnant. In this case, I don't think she's pregnant. I think it's just food, but it is possible. It might be the very beginning stages of her being pregnant, which would be really, really exciting for us, and it would be really nice if she is pregnant. I really hope with the Styx Pride that they start to come back from the issues that they've had. I was actually just telling Dave that when I first came into this area and first saw the Styx Pride, there was 11 of them in the Pride. And slowly but surely they've kind of been whittled down, and now we're just left with these 3 females. So I'm really hoping that they have a good run this summer, and that the remaining 2 females also have cubs and they start to produce, and the Pride then starts to grow again. They've had a very tough few years with lots of male changeovers, lots of different male coalitions that have come in, which have been not easy to manage. And then they've had also a few issues with, like I say, with mange and things like that. So it's been a really tough few years for the Styx Pride. And they are one of the oldest prides within the Sabi Sand area. You know, they were one of the first prides that was kind of followed and viewed all the way back in the 80s when Mala Mala first opened. And so they have a rich history in this area, and it would be very sad to see if the Pride kind of whittled down and eventually disappeared. So I'm really hoping that they're able to bounce back and their numbers start to come up again, and the Pride becomes nice and strong and healthy again. So Shannon in Ohio would like to know if a female lion has ever killed a male lion. Well, Shannon, as far as I know, not. I've never heard of it. I have heard of multiple females attacking male lions, but I must be honest, I've never heard of a male actually being killed by females. I suppose it could be possible if a young male arrived at a pride that had multiple females and they were slightly older and those females all attacked in unison, then potentially yes, that could happen. But as far as I know, one-on-one, the male is just too big and too strong. It will just really never be a successful thing for a female. She'll get hurt very, very quickly. So I don't think she would even attempt it. But like I said, numbers is always the game out here. So it's the same with hyenas and other predators. If they can mass more numbers than the lions, then sometimes they can overpower them. And in this case, if you've got a whole bunch of females against one male, then potentially, yes, they could do some damage to him and injure him enough to kill him. But I have never heard of it, and I don't know if there are any recorded cases. I will have a look and research it, and hopefully you'll join us this afternoon, and I'll be able to then give you a more precise answer if there has been any recorded cases of a lioness killing a male lion. But as far as I know, it's not that I've heard of. I have seen lionesses be very, very bold towards males, and it's generally when they're in protection of their cubs or a food item, and they'll try and kind of really front up to the males and push them away. But ultimately, when the males get aggressive and they really start to come at these females, the females have no chance. They like I say, are much, much lighter animals, far less bulky. They also don't have that mane that protects the throat and chest areas. And so for a lioness, she's far more exposed than what a male is. And so when a male attacks her, she's going to end up with far bigger wounds than what he would. And so normally they just get up and go and try and run away from it. Alright guys, so while we sit here with her and see if she'll get up and maybe move and take us towards the others, we're going to go to Byron, who's set himself up in the tent this morning, and hopefully he'll have some weird and wonderful things to show you guys.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this morning is a weird and wonderful thing. It's Jandre. Now, we were deliberating whether or not to go out on walk, but the rain has come back. There is a bit of a drizzle, and Jandre doesn't like getting wet at all. So we thought we'd come into the tent, sit here for a while, and see what we can find around the tent, and hopefully tell some stories and find out what's been happening with these lions. Hasn't it been a great morning, a wonderful start? Lot of lion activity. Now, some of you may have remembered I've spoken about this many times before, but weather like this often brings in a lot of predator activity. And last night we had heavy winds, we had thunder and lightning, and a lot of rain. Now, the predators generally enjoy these conditions because it's easier for them to hunt. It masks their scent, it's easier to stalk. The prey animals can't hear them, so it does make it a lot easier. And many times we've found kills the next morning after a night where it's been a storm. And it's great to see the Birmingham males again and that Styx lioness. It's really interesting. I'm surprised how close she is to them. It doesn't look like they're that far from each other, but it's interesting. It just shows you lion prides. If one pride moves out of an area, another pride may kind of skirt along the edge of their territory, and occasionally some territories or home ranges might overlap slightly, but usually they are very aggressive towards one another, and if they do come across each other, it can be very, very dangerous because those lions would definitely attack one another. I know Tristan and James have been speaking about it this morning. Now, I've walked around here briefly this morning just to see what we can find, and I found something for our beloved microscope. And you know how much I enjoyed the microscope last time, so I'm going to try and see if I can get our little creature on the microscope for you quickly. Seems to be a little shy. There we go. And I've got him. Look at that, a beautiful grasshopper that I managed to pick up as we walked in. He's still here. There he is. He's moving around a bit, and I will let him go again. Kirsten says, blurry safaris. Kirsten, it's still very early. Stop shouting at me. There we go. I need to get used to this microscope. And again, I always choose the moving subject, which is now completely gone. Right. It's completely, I don't know where he jumped. Anyway, so that did not work very well for the first microscope of the morning. We'll see what else we can find around here, though. And I think James is still sitting with those males, just seeing what they get up to, or the one was feeding. Interesting to see the one male again following a lioness. I'm not sure if she is an estrus or... but again, these males do pick up on it if they are, and if they, what? Oh, he's back. Where did he come from? I was grasshopper came back. I don't know where he went. I wonder if he. So as I was saying, those lionesses, they've been moving around quite a bit, and all the way north. Oh, he's jumped. You know what he's done? He's jumped into the microscope, and that's why. He's not being a team player this morning. He's jumped back up into the microscope, and now I can't get him. Looks like I'm going to break the microscope if I try anymore, and James will shout at me and probably beat me with a stick. So let's get back to those lions and how they've been moving around. Now, the Nkuhuma pride, we know, have moved quite far north the last few days, which has been interesting, right up into the Manyaleti. And it just shows you how their territory does expand and extend. And then with them coming back, these males have bumped into them again. And it just shows you how opportunistic the males are when it comes to mating. Now, a coalition of males will have a number of lions within their territory that they'll be able to mate with. Just like the Styx pride as well as the Nkuhuma pride. The Birmingham males have basically been moving through those two prides. And I think with the lionesses coming back from the Nkuhuma pride, the males will definitely make sure that the females are not in estrus or are in estrus so that they may mate with them. And again, success out here, especially for a male lion, is to have large territory. Excuse me, I think I'm losing my voice. And have a large territory, and then also to mate and have offspring. That is success for them. So every opportunity they get, if they find the lions, if they find the lionesses, they'll try and mate with them and see if they are successful. And the Nkuhuma pride has been successful with cubs in the past. The Styx pride have got cubs at the moment. So it's interesting to see lion dynamics. Somebody once described, excuse me, someone once described the lion prides almost to be like a soap opera, because there's constantly fighting and bickering, and there's males coming in, males leaving, males mating with females, females mating with other males. There's always something going on with lions, and it's a huge story. Now, you'd like to know what I think would happen. Lauren, you wanted to know what would happen if the Styx pride bumped into the Nkuhuma pride. There's almost without a doubt in my mind that they would fight, and the reason for that is because they're two territorial prides, and if they do come across one another, there would definitely be interaction. Usually one pride, and I would assume the Styx pride, and would probably try and leave the area. Now, I've seen on many occasions before lion prides coming into the same area, and they call, and that calling, the constant roaring, and that will alert one another where they are, for one, and one pride will usually recognize the other call and decide there are more lions there than there are here, we'd rather going to leave. So I'm assuming with the Styx pride, there's only those two or three lionesses, I think, and then the Nkuhuma pride, we know there are 5 lionesses, so the chances are the Styx pride would probably move off and run further south, back towards Mala Mala. That would be my guess. But if they did bump into each other, there would definitely be interaction, and they would definitely fight. I've seen it many times before. So now I wonder what else we can find around here. Mary, I do not have the tadpoles. I do not have the tadpoles, unfortunately. They are back at camp. James has been looking after them, and there seems to definitely be a change in them. They're doing quite well by the looks of things, so it'll be great to see them grow, and who knows what happens. Who knows, maybe one day James is going to have some frogs in his room fairly soon. There's the grasshopper. Okay, just have a look at this. Again, I've got him in the microscope for now. He keeps moving. But have a look at the hairs on the body. And stop moving, please. You're live. But there we go. Beautiful colors, very well camouflaged. And you know, a lot of us have been speaking about camouflage the last week or so. This little grasshopper would most definitely blend in with the surroundings very, very well. Look at those beautiful eyes. And I would have to say that this grasshopper, again, he's moving. Hang on, there we go. He looks like an athlete of the grasshopper world. And I say that because he looks like a sprinter. Those big, powerful legs. Look at that. It almost looks muscular. Could you describe a grasshopper as muscular? But he is lovely. It's great to see him. Something different. Lovely little grasshopper. Now, as I said, it looks like I would describe him as a sprinter, because he's got big, powerful, muscular legs. Looks like a short, stocky little grasshopper, and I'm assuming he's a great jumper. But I think perhaps the weather maybe got rained on a little bit, so he's not as active as he usually would be. I'm trying to think. I wonder, those tadpoles, getting back to those tadpoles, they look like they've been doing very well. There's still plenty of all of them are alive by the looks of things. So James does look like he would be a good mother, looking after the tadpoles. I'm curious to see what frogs they turn into. I think there's a bit of a pot going around deciding or guessing what frogs they are. Some say foam nest frogs. Some say toads. I think Steph said a toad, maybe an eastern olive toad or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know. I would have hoped perhaps some little painted reed frogs, maybe. But I wonder if they're not a bit too big. Judging by the size of the tadpoles, the painted reed frogs are quite small. But I'm not sure. So it'll be interesting to see what they turn into. Seems to be losing my voice this morning. Maybe it's the weather. We're probably going to ask for some coffee in the tent at some point. Maybe we'll get some coffee to warm ourselves up. You know, it's cold and it's hard work being in the tent. We've got to sit here, entertain everybody for a while the guides out there travel and look for wildlife and sit with lions. Now, I think both Tristan and James are putting their rain covers on, and I think Tristan has just finished doing that, and he's still sitting with that beautiful Styx lioness. Let's go have a look.
Welcome back, guys, and look at what's happened since you've been gone. The lioness got up and she walked and started calling, and out of the bush popped the other female with the 2 little cubs. And aren't they the cutest little things? They're looking a little bit sorry for themselves. I think they're a bit drenched with the rain, but so excited. So a little bit of patience paid off in terms of being able to get to see the little cubs. I don't know where the other female is. They're still looking into this bush and still contact calling a little bit. So I think the others are, maybe the other one is still somewhere close by. But isn't that a beautiful sight, eh? With the 2 females, and they're the little cubs now coming as well. See the one between the legs there. Listen to them. Isn't that sweet, eh, guys? A little bit of grooming, little cubs coming to say hello to their aunt, and lots of vocalizing. Very cool. And massive bellies, which means that they've all had a really good meal. And to feed 2 big adult lionesses like this, as well as the little cubs, as you can see them waddling away there, and the 3rd lioness, which will hopefully join as well, will mean that these guys have had something quite big to eat. Alright, so I would imagine something at least the size of a kudu maybe. That's probably what they've gone after, or maybe even a young buffalo somewhere that they caught during the night. Last night was absolutely optimal conditions for hunting. It was the perfect way to go. Nice and dark, lots of rain, which would have confused all the prey animals. So a lot of the predators would have been very successful in hunting last night, and it seems our lionesses were just as successful as we thought they might be. Looks like they're all going to settle down on the road now, which is really quite nice. I'm going to just try and loop around a little bit so we can get the mom and the little cubs interacting there. So just give me a second. I also just need to let one vehicle know that's trying to find us that we are back on the road here. So, is there any station that West copy? Yeah, whichever station's trying to find the Styx, they're back on Triple M North. It's 2 Mafazis and 2 Mantwans now. Just gonna go around. So we're just gonna get around here quickly. So there we go, guys. Managed. So Miss Sky would like to know, are these new cubs and how old they are? They are the newest cubs for the Styx Pride. They are now, just trying to remember, they were born in September, I think, somewhere around there. I'll just have to check. But they were born in somewhere in that area, so that would make them now approaching 4 to 5 months old. So still quite small, as you can see. And look at the size of those little fat bellies. Aren't they the cutest little things? I think they're even battling to walk. They're almost waddling like penguins at this stage. And there's a little few cries here and there. And that's often they cry like that when they want a bit of milk. So they want the mother to lie down and to rest, and they can then start suckling from their mother. You would think with such full bellies that they wouldn't really want milk, but sometimes after eating a bit of meat, it's nice to kind of wash it down with a bit of mom's milk, and then after that it's going to be nap time for sure. But I see the mother has just gone off into the bush here. I'm sure the rain is starting to get a little heavier now, so I'm sure they're going to try and find somewhere just to shelter. The other female that was with them is completely passed out. She's gone absolutely flat now that she's found the others. She's fast asleep down the road. And the other little cub is just moving off to mom now as well. But what a wonderful morning we're having with lions, eh guys? From no lions the last 3-4 drives to 2 different sets of lions, and in both really interesting sightings, from the Birminghams and the Nkuhumas vocalizing on their buffalo kill to these Styx with the little cubs. What a magical morning it's been so far. See, she's popped her head up again, just looking into that bush, where she kind of came from with the others. So Reese would like to know if lion color is genetic within a pride, and if that's the reason why the Styx pride is slightly lighter in color. Reese, it's not genetic within a pride itself. If you actually have a look now at these 2 lionesses, you'll see the one lying on the road is slightly lighter than the female that is standing up. So they do have different colors. It's much like us as people. Every single lion will have a slightly different tone to them. So they are completely unique within each individual. So it's not a pride thing. And it's really just about an individual basis. But they are looking so good. I'm so thrilled that these guys are looking as good as they are. They've really put on a lot of weight. They've got the mange under control now. The little cubs are looking healthy. So all looks really good for the future for them. I believe a lot of you are loving the waddle of these little lion cubs and their stomachs, and I can't agree more. They are very cute. Like I say, they look like little penguins bouncing around on the road here. Kind of tummies bigger than the legs at this stage. So just come in behind us now. Like I said, the other lioness is still busy watching and looking for the 3rd female. I'm sure she's probably not far away. Maybe she's finishing up the last of those remains. Like I say, when we followed her, she went into this big deep thicket, and she started calling, and these 3 came out, the female with the little cubs. So I'm sure the other one is somewhere inside there. We didn't manage to locate any kill or carcass, but I would imagine it was somewhere in this thick bush to our west. And isn't that sweet there? Look at how they're cuddling up to mom. The one's almost using mom as an umbrella, keeps going in underneath her. I wonder if she's just trying to get out of the rain by using mom. And they look as though they're not quite sure where they really want to go at this stage. The female is very up and down. She's pacing back and forth and going in different directions. I'm sure she's trying to find this 3rd female to be able to see where she is. I have to admit, little lion cubs and the squeaks that they make are possibly one of my most favorite sounds. They make these little grunts and squeaks, and it seems like they're having a full-on conversation with themselves, which is very cute. Alright guys, so while we sit with these guys and see what they get up to, we're going to go back to James and just see what his lions are doing and what the Birminghams and Nkuhumas have gotten up to in the last little bit.
Now, quickly, before we get blocked, there is another lioness here that we've just spotted. There we are, off to the right-hand side. So I don't know where the rest of the Nkuhuma pride are, but we know that, of course, that the 3 mothers are often alone with the cubs, and that these 2, Amber Eyes and the other one, do roam away from the pride at times. So I think that's probably the two lionesses we have here of the Nkuhumas. I haven't seen any others, and I've looked quite enthusiastically into the bushes around the dam here, and I don't see any evidence of the other lions. So we've got two lionesses, 3 males here. Mfumo absent, I think, and 3 lionesses and 6 cubs absent, but well, we've got cubs with the other lion pride of ours. Isn't that nice? It's a real lion-themed drive, really. Quite a lot of rain coming out of the sky at the moment. So Byron is in the tent, of course, as you saw. I'll just try and get tight in on her face there. You can, Craig. Yeah, I think that's her. Do we agree that that's amber eyes, everybody? Oh, I don't know. Thank you for closing your eyes. Well, we ain't going to tell right now. Her nose looked a little bit dark. All right, let's go back to the kill. A really nice shot there. Larry, you say is it unusual that we just to see only one lion eating while the others don't? Larry, it's not, after the rest of them have got fat bellies like this. Now, quite interestingly, Nsuku was called Blondie, and Nsuku basically means sort of yellow tan colour. And that's why he was given his name, because he's got a much blonder mane than the rest of them. Now, that normally means that there is less testosterone in him, and that therefore means that his ability to fight off the others at a carcass, to dominate a carcass, will be reduced. So it's not unusual to find an animal that is slightly less dominant than the others feeding once the others are too fat. And I think that's probably what's happened here. But at the same time, Larry, the other scenario that could easily have taken place is that they've all eaten enough, and he's just got a little bit more space in him. He's had a bit more time to digest, and so he's gone back for seconds. That could easily have happened. I'm not sure how much that lioness has eaten, if anything at all. Now, Tanis, you're in Canada, and where there are no lions, I don't think, and you're wondering about how many pounds of meat a lion can eat in one sitting. Well, the books will tell you that a lion can eat between 20 and 25% of its own body weight in one sitting. Now, that is a massive amount of meat. So a lion that is weighing in at probably, let's say, I'm going to put Nsuku at roughly 400 and, let's call him a conservative 400 pounds. So 25% of that, of course, is 100 pounds of meat. I am not convinced that that is true, to be honest. So let's put it at a conservative 15% of their body mass, which would immediately take us to round about 15% of 400, of course, is 15 times 4, which is 60 pounds of meat in one sitting at a conservative guess. So that's pretty big. There he is. He's still enjoying his meal. Penny Pine, I'm not sure if this is a serious question or not, but you're asking if I would consider making little shelters with branches and leaves when it rains for the lions. No, Penny, I wouldn't consider making little shelters of branches and leaves for the lions when it rains. They're quite capable of looking after themselves in the rain. And they'll actually, that big thick quarry bush that he's been feeding underneath, provide excellent shelter, especially the ones that hang a little bit lower down to the ground. So the necessity to fashion shelters from the wilderness out here for the lions, I believe to be, well, certainly not a priority.